Everyone, welcome to the Roundtable. I'm Tex Homer, joined by Joe Cook, Justin Wells, Ian Boyd, Paul Wadlington, and Eric Nalin. And we are here to preview the Bulldogs, and we're going to give you some predictions. We know you guys like those. Before we get going, though, head over to Inside Texas. $1 for just $1 for 1 month. Not just 1 month. That's plenty of time. Guys, we'd love to see you over on the board. Active community, smart, funny, and, of course, all of these guys' incredible writings. Let's get right to it. Joe, you've been on the beat, ear to the ground, Sark in sight. What did we learn? He normally stays pretty on message. What did he want his team and us to know heading into round 3 versus Georgia?
Yeah, I'll get to one player and then kind of the overall thing Sark's been saying publicly. Michael Taaffe, I asked about him making his comeback this week. Missed the last 2 games, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, after hurting his thumb against Kentucky, getting surgery. And Taaffe on Monday spoke a little bit about being an off-field leader and taking the coin toss at Mississippi State, which he lost, but the game was won. That doesn't matter. But Taaffe's back. That's a big deal. And Sark basically said, this is someone who stayed locked in the entire process. This is someone who didn't really rest for, the time that he was not able to play. And we all know how much the University of Texas means to Michael Taaffe and how much he really would have wanted to have been on the field. But now he's back on the field, and it's going to be really important. And looking forward to seeing how he and Jelani McDonald, of course, making their return. I know Paul and Ian will talk about those guys later. But from Sark, you can kind of tell how much there is a program respect for Georgia. Over the past couple of years, they've talked about, this is the standard in college football. This is the team that, has kind of defined this decade of college football. And I think that speaks to an understanding of, for Texas, if they want to get to where they want to be, if they want to get to the national championship game, if they want to get to the SEC championship game, they have to beat teams like Georgia. They have to beat them in order to show that they're better than them. And it's been very respectful, at least out front and publicly, with Texas and Sark and that, and all his availabilities. And, it sounds like Sark and Kirby are even friends. And, they exchange text messages on driving from Tupelo to Starkville. There is a healthy respect because Texas knows that in order to get to where they want to go, it goes through Athens, it goes through Georgia. And I think a lot of the internal motivation and discussion has kind of been centered on that this week as well, but maybe in a little bit different way.
Yeah, and Kirby texting Sark Saturday morning before he's about to go kick Mississippi State's ass, knowing he's on a bye week. That's friendly, but there's also some gamesmanship occurring there. Just to be like, hey, buddy, wonder how you're doing. I think you should watch the game that's coming up. So I thought that was interesting. Justin, we got a recruit, man. Let us know about him.
Yeah, Texas got a commitment last night out of flipping nowhere. Hey, you need a tight end in this cycle? Go up to Michigan. Look for the latest Minnesota commitment. They flipped a kid out of Portage, Michigan yesterday named Charlie Jilik. 6'5", about 240 pounds. First thing you notice about this kid on tape is physicality. He is a very, very physical kid. This kid loves some football. It's one of those guys where he's going to be a developmental kid. He's the number 88th ranked tight end in the country, number 25 in the state of Michigan. But this class needed a tight end look. They're still going to the. I wouldn't be surprised if they picked up another guy in the portal. But adding this one, hey. Get a guy that wants to row the boat. Just make sure it's on Lake Travis now. And so Charlie Jilik joins the class. 2 other things of note. They offered 2 new 2026s last night out of Georgetown, Texas. Caden Scherer, an offensive tackle committed to Stanford. He'd actually already set up his official visit a few days ago. We reported on that. We connected with him last night. He was fired up about this offer. That's a kid you want to watch. And then his teammate, running back, highly productive running back in Jet Walker, who's at 6'2", about 210 pounds. Not your stereotypical 3-star Central Texas, Minnesota running back per se, but this kid it can go. The biggest thing here was that Derek Cooper. They talked to Derek Cooper a few days ago about bringing in another running back. Derek kind of had the understanding when he committed he would be the only tailback take, but numbers kind of showed that they needed another guy. Cooper was completely on board, and Walker is the perfect guy to not threaten Cooper. Not to mention the kid has fantastic tape. He's been if you guys remember, he's been mentioned on the board for the last 2 years. People are always asking, hey, what's going on with Jet Walker? And we just always kind of brushed it off because Texas never really showed a ton of interest. Chad Scott called him last night, extended the offer. I expect him to visit for Arkansas, and we'll move forward from there.
Yeah, he had some decent track times too.
He's
All right,
a big, strong kid.
Yep.
Like someone compared him to Rex Burkhead. He is a lot bigger than Burkhead was in high school. Now, Burkhead was a freak athlete, I promise you. But this kid's a little bit, not little, he's a lot bigger.
What do they have in common, Justin?
a hard
Mom
work
and
ethic.
dad.
They like mayonnaise.
Ian, seem a little tired, but you're gonna wake right up whenever you talk about
can't
the
even see
Texas
us.
offense versus Georgia. I did well. My mistake today is I drank my coffee too early, and now it's wearing off, and I'm losing its effects. But so I can relate. But Ian, what are you thinking right now? Texas offense, Georgia defense.
I kind of like this matchup a little bit, just a little bit. Georgia's weaker in pass defense than everybody's used to seeing from them. They only can get pressure when they blitz the inside linebackers. The secondary is solid, but they've always been a team that you could attack if you had a good enough passing game, and now they are even more vulnerable to that. Texas has been slowly discovering that they can be a spread passing team this year and be a lot better than trying to do the power run, play action offense that Sark preferred and that Sark was leaning into earlier in the year. So I think that the momentum of Texas and that towards that identity, combined with how that identity challenges Georgia, and then the fact that they get a bye week to lean into that identity and script up some stuff and come up with potentially fairly novel game plan that Georgia won't be as prepared for, really sets up well for Texas. I'm not talking like going to go in and blow them out or anything, but I think Texas definitely has a chance to, get into the 20s in points, maybe even the low 30s. And if you do that and you play a typical Texas game on defense that Paul will describe, I think absolutely Texas has a great chance to pull this one out.
Sailor Joe asks, so I see we need to establish a run game. Don't know how we're going to do that. But what are extensions of a run game that we can do? Running back check down screens. Do we hope to utilize pass first?
Depends on what he means by establish the run. They need to run it enough that Georgia defends the run. They can't let Georgia ignore the run with their defensive play calls, with their defensive line responsibilities and how they play. Can't let them get into, dime package on 1st and 10. But I don't think Texas needs to actually run the ball effectively until late in the game. If anybody remembers, like in 2008, when Texas beat up on Oklahoma, throwing to Jordan Shipley in the slot as like a flex tight end, Texas had like 5 rushing yards at the half, or something like that. But at the end of the game, they ended up with over 100 rushing yards. They had like a long Chris Openaya run, and everybody was like, Texas won because they established the run. No, they didn't. They won because they threw it all over Oklahoma, and then they ran the ball late in the game when Oklahoma was already gassed and cooked. That's what it needs to look like in this game. You run it enough just to keep Georgia honest, and then maybe you run for real yardage late in the game if you're protecting a lead, or you bust them when they're like reeling. But that they don't actually need to be effective early in this game running the ball. They just need to be not a disaster.
Thank you, Brett Nelson. Question 1 for you. Question 2 will end up being for Paul, so I'll circle back to that one. But how many called running plays from Arch coming off concussion protocol?
That was like 3 weeks ago.
As many as it takes.
Is this one of those games, right, where you run Arch, you make it happen?
Well, I don't know if they're going to run Arch that much. I would rather have him maybe run off the scramble. Texas isn't that good at running Arch directly. And when you show Georgia run blocking, they're very good at blowing up run blocking. And Texas is very bad at executing run blocking. So I don't think they would actually get that much of an advantage by trying to hammer Arch on direct snap runs like 10, 15 times. But scramble-wise and maybe in the red zone, whatever it takes.
Good stuff. All right, before we keep going, let's hear a word from Laura Baker.
If you're looking for a home in the Austin area, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. Laura's a part of the elite Andy Allen team at Keller Williams Realty. She's helped Longhorns find their dream homes all over Central Texas. You can just ask our very own Ian Boyd, who moved from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Whether you're searching in Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown, San Marcos, or even parts of the 254 or the 210, Laura has you covered. So call 512-784-0505, or you can email her at laura@andyallenteam.com. She's a Longhorn, a friend of Inside Texas, and the person you need to call to get your next home in Central Texas. Call Laura Baker today. Contact info is in the description.
Thank you very much, Laura. All right, Paul. Texas defense. What are we going to do? This Georgia offense is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, they've carried their football team. They're the reason they're having a good season, and they've been big in some big games like Ole Miss and Tennessee, but they basically had to outscore those two teams to win the game. Georgia defense got worked over for at least the first half of both of those contests. So these guys are really balanced, and the whole Fire Mike Bobo campaign has gotten a stick in the spokes for Georgia fans because he's actually put together a good offense. When you go watch the All-22, schematically, they do good stuff. They execute well. They run the ball well between the tackles, and they can do it from double tight. They've got two very good tight ends in Lawson Lucky and Oscar Delp. Or they could spread you out, and I actually think their scarier run game is from the shotgun. They'll spread you out, encourage you to have a light box, and then they'll use Gunnar Stockton as a backside constraint, and then they'll hand the ball off going downhill. And even with 5 offensive linemen on the offensive line and no other helper blockers, they're comfortable pulling guys. They're comfortable running gap schemes. And so all guys like Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens need is a little gap and a step, and they get downhill fast. And they're starting to get more explosive in their run game. So the main thing is the straw that stirs the drink, Gunnar Stockton. Georgia not active in the portal this offseason or this prior offseason. A lot of people were kind of raising an eyebrow about that. Georgia knew what they had, and Gunnar Stockton has fulfilled all their expectations and wishes. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's rushed for 7 touchdowns. He's rushed for over 300 yards. He's a true dual threat, but he's also thrown the ball really well, and his decision-making has been great. Only 2 interceptions on the year, and he's a second-half guy. So they make really good second-half adjustments. 76% completion percentage in the second half and 9.2 yards per pass attempt. So Georgia tries a lot of stuff out in the first half, and then they hone in on the things that are giving you problems in the second half. And they've been really blowing people out of the water with second-half offense. How does Texas beat them? How does Texas deal with them? Well, Georgia has played some pretty good fronts. Probably Auburn is the best. They haven't played a front like Texas. And actually last year, despite the debacle in Austin on offense overshadowing, our defense actually played them very well. And one thing that you may have noticed is Ernest Green, the right tackle for Georgia, he struggled with Texas edges in both contests, both in Austin and in the SEC title game. That's something that I'd explore. Green is actually a guy who's probably not, I say undersized. We're now in a world where 6'4", 310 is undersized at offensive tackle, but he's a little undersized, and he uses his speed and his quickness often to get good position. What I've noticed is that when he faces superior quickness, that guy acts like Colin Simmons actually robs him of his advantages. And now it's a very different game that Green doesn't like to play. So I think we need to press that advantage. I do think per our super chat that we do need to get our defensive ends up the field, but Georgia makes you play pretty honest. I mean, Gunnar Stockton is going to keep that ball and go around the edge on the other side. You guys just brace yourself. He's going to have a 20, 25-yard run. That's just part of it. You just got to shrug it off and make sure it doesn't happen in the red zone, right? You got to be extra cognizant. If it happens at the 40-yard line, you shrug and you play the next down and try to play it a little bit better. But, yeah, I think we really do have to bring it up front, but you can't just go crazy. You can't play OU style with a bunch of replacement games and stunts and blitzes because Georgia will punish you, they'll gap you, and they'll hit a big run. The other thing that's been impressive about Georgia is their versatility in the passing game. Zachariah Branch is not a traditional sort of route tree guy, but he's their number one receiver. They do a good job of getting him the ball in the slant and the screen game. And then they've got 2 NFL tight ends. and they can split those guys out, and they'll run RPOs with them, and they'll just have Lucky shield off your nickel with a 6'4", 240-pound frame, and he'll catch it. They'll have guys slip up the seam. They'll really terrorize you with those tight ends if they think they can from 12 personnel. So Texas fans, not always excited when we go to 12 personnel. Georgia fans, they don't mind going to 12 personnel. So Georgia's a really well-balanced, versatile offense. The key, get them in 3rd and long. Believe it or not, it's kryptonite to a lot of offenses, and it's definitely kryptonite to Georgia. They seem to always be in perpetual 2nd and 4 and 1st and 10. They're trying to play Canadian football. You get to deny them of that opportunity, get them into 3rd downs, and then you'll have a tremendous opportunity to get them off the field.
Yeah, I just want the linebackers and safe just to be aware of where guys are and be in good position. And I want the calls to also be strong in that regard because they will see guys over the middle. And you pointed out on previous deep dives how effective Stockton is over the middle.
You can tell how much of a degenerate Paul is by the fact that he's using Canadian football metaphors. If any of us know how Canadian football is played.
We need a rouge this game.
Yeah,
I like the way they motion the receivers.
Yeah, I watched a clinic by a bunch of Canadian football guys, and I was like, half of this does not apply to my actual knowledge, but some of it translates.
Hey, the Grey Cup this weekend too. Grey Cup this weekend.
They use a middle school size football. It's crazy.
Eric, team news. What's going on, man?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, there's a lot going on. Got 1,000 words that I posted right before we came on here. To synthesize a couple of these comments, Joe is exactly right about Kirby Smart. I mentioned that in the article that Sark clearly has a great amount of respect for what he gets out of that program. Put the talent aside that he's had to work with, the effort that they play with, the physicality. Sark has told his team that you've got to play 4 quarters. You know, you got to start fast, you got to finish strong. He structured practice to that end to start practice with a lot of intensity and to finish it the same way. They've got to play a 4-quarter game to have a chance. They've got to match physicality. Man, I truly think that he's got this team fine-tuned in the right mental headspace to go out there and play very well for 4 quarters. The more people we talk to, and Justin talked to people as well, I'm picking up a 2022 Alabama vibe. With the more people I talked to, the more I felt that game was going to be extremely close. Texas was, left for dead. They were 5-7 the year before. They ended up playing that game very, very well. I think that's truly the game that started off the Sark era. I'm picking up a similar tone to that within the team. They feel like they've got to win this game, not just for this season, but just to re-enter the national conversation, to get the respect that they feel like they deserve. Sark's got the offense going in the right direction. You're not going to see him pussyfoot with too much trying to run it up the middle. He's going to play to his strengths. I think the game plan is going to be one that Ian finds suitable for this contest. They've got a number of different things in, whether it's special teams, offense, or defense, that tells you that they're taking this game extra seriously. They can play. There's a different scheme for defense that they've implemented. If they can get to that point of the game. You might see a new starter on defense depending on what package they open out with. New wrinkles in the spread game. I mean, they're taking this game like it's their Super Bowl. Sark has said that you can only truly get up for 4 games a year. This is certainly one of them. I would probably put this at number 1 based on everything I've heard in the last few days.
That got me hyped, dude. All right, predictions. Joe Cook.
I did a Q&A over with our friends at UGA Sports. And I was saying something earlier this week. It's like, I think this kind of looks like the Florida game. And I'm not backing off of that, but I think Texas can prevail on the scoreboard even though I think that might take place. So I kind of flipped a little bit, and I've got it 21-20 Texas. I was trying to think of some weird field goal looking scores like 18-15, but math's too hard for me. So 21-20, last 5 minutes of the 4th quarter game for sure, but I think Texas gets it done real close.
J-Star.
Oh, the players, when the schedule came out, they were looking forward to this one. You always look forward to OU. You kind of look forward to A&M. They were really looking forward to Georgia. I love what Eric said about 2022 vibes with Bama. Like, I kind of get that sense too. They are very mentally strong when it comes to this group. They understand what's in front of them. That being said, between the hedges is a tough place to win, especially that's a tough out. And so I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a one-possession game. But I do agree with one thing that Rue Dwayne thinks. I think Georgia is more consistent, and I think they win 27-24.
Ian, what you got for us, man?
I think I said Texas 23-17. And I actually see that with Georgia maybe scoring a touchdown late, with Texas getting an early lead and then just kind of hanging on for most of the game after that.
Okay. All right.
Hey, I'd watch. I'm going to go set my DVR for that.
Paul.
How much do you guys want to bet that Michael Taff sleeps in his pads and his cleats tonight?
You know he's just been watching tape.
You know when you're a little kid and you're excited about like Christmas Day, so you like sleep in your clothes or something and you like just lay in bed waiting to get up. I think that's what Taff is doing, ready for this game. I actually want to change my pick now after I hear Eric's like pep talk, the Newt Rockne style pep talk.
It made me think about it too.
I got really excited, but I'm taking Georgia. I think they have home field advantage, and they've just been a more consistent team. I actually think that we have comparable ceilings, believe it or not,
yes,
as football teams. I just think Georgia's demonstrated the more consistent floor, and they've just been a much more reliable football team. So I've got them winning 24-23.
Eric, you can't pick Georgia after that anyway. So
I'm hoping I'm just going to stay here quiet until my internet goes out eventually, right? It has to happen. Man, I don't think I've ever spent nearly as much time thinking about a game, because it would almost be better to not have any information at all, and you can just go with, and I'm not saying these guys don't, obviously they're awesome at analysis, but you could just say, yeah, Georgia plays cleaner, they play more consistent, they commit less penalties, they get more penalties out of the officials. I mean, they're at home. There's just so much obvious reasons to take Georgia. But back to what Paul said a second ago about having similar ceilings. I think Texas's ceiling is actually higher, especially with the offense finding its groove. This offense is better than Georgia's than the Texas offense last year when it's clicking on all cylinders. We haven't seen enough of it, but I do think the ceiling's higher than the offense last year. Georgia's defense is not nearly as good as the defense that they had last year. This one comes down to me that I do believe that the mindset of the team is to go out there. They have to win. They have to play for 4 quarters. They have to play physical. They have to create turnovers. So I'm reversing my pick earlier in the week from 27-24 Georgia to 27-24 Texas. The only way this one goes to a touchdown for either team is if it goes to overtime, which is pretty funny how that works.
No overtime.
Give me Texas 27-24. I'm also hoping for no overtime no matter what, man. I don't know.
Second half Georgia is not a lot of fun to deal with, man. But get up.
They don't let Kirby Smart take timeouts every play anymore, so there's at least that going for us.
Well, he's clapping, by the way.
Hey, let's all clap ourselves off.
Yeah, we can do that.
Gillick style.
That'd be fun. Ian's lights would go off if he's got the clapper over there.
Ian, you do need.
Ian can't even see us right now. We're all blurs.
They're all blurs.
I do feel like of all of us, Ian has the most infomercial products in his house.
Oh yeah,
Made for TV.
Do you remember the Flowbee, Ian?
Oh man, not the Flowbee.
You cut your own hair. It's
a vacuum.
A vacuum, but with like razor blades in it. It cuts your hair.
I don't remember that. No.
Yeah.
Justin got a lower body injury from that.
What about L. Ron Hubbard and Dianetics, Ian?
All right, guys, let's do the promotion. All right, $1 for 1 month. Join Inside Texas. You can read all this guy's awesome work. And, of course, we're going to have incredible coverage of this here Georgia game. And then tomorrow, I need you guys to all tune in. Pre-game show, post-game show, all of that. We're really, really excited to see y'all. Have a wonderful Friday. Enjoy it, everyone, and farewell.